All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for like two or three real people out there just like you and just like me. All right, the video might have froze up there. Anyway, the Big Wolf Band, Be Free. Check this band out. If you don't like that album, you can also check out this one here, A Rebel's Story. And if you become a huge fan of the band like I am, maybe you can get this one here, Live and Howlin'. They're a UK-based blues rock band. They are fantastic. Go listen to the Big Wolf Band. You won't regret it. Same with modern retro radio. You won't regret listening to a great radio station, modernretrofm.com. They did an interview with Mitch Malloy, kind of a bookend thing, because I did an interview with Mitch Malloy. Theirs is very entertaining. Mine was like, I don't know what to really ask Mitch Malloy other than, how was Van Halen? How did Van Halen treat you? Most of the media completely ignored it because it was me doing the interviewing, which I guess I wear as a badge of honor. So anyway, folks, as we all know, the Eagles have decided that they are doing a farewell tour. Now, there are some rumors floating around that the Eagles may extend an olive branch out to Don Felder. These are rumors, okay? Nothing has been confirmed, and I doubt it. You know why I doubt it? It's because of this. This book, all right, and if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. Don Felder spills the beans, tells all of the dirt, just shovels the dirt out there about all of what the Eagles were about for many years. And it seems a little like Henley and Fry were running the joint like dictators, okay? Now, again, you may have a different take on it. Hey, they're the smartest guys. They should just do everything. And you can make that argument. In fact, the Eagles made that argument in the documentary they did and really portrayed Don Felder in a bad light. The fact that Felder agreed to be in the documentary and to take that level of abuse, I think shows that he's probably a pretty decent guy. And when you sign a contract, Don Henley, it's a contract unless you renegotiate the contract, which rather than saying, nope, you're out, or we're not going to include you as a full partner in this, and we're just going to have you be a hired hand, to quote a lyric from a famous Eagles song. In any event, it just seems to me that at this point, Don Felder should be brought back in. If this is your last go-round, I make these videos and, I'm hoping one day somebody, high in the food chain up on the ladder, like an Irving Azoff, would just say, you know what, Don Henley, just let him in. We can make another $50 million if you bring him back in or something, We could charge more for the tickets. We could do VIP Gold Circle with you and Don Felder hugging one another. I know Henley holds this grudge, and he's not going to let it go. He'll probably take that grudge to his grave. And in some ways, I understand that. But keep in mind, when hell froze over in 1994, and they wanted Joe Walsh back in the band, who did they get to do the dirty work? It was Don Felder. Felder and Walsh were buddies. That's why I did this video about how I don't understand how Joe Walsh doesn't even try to be friends. Maybe it's in the contract, right? Maybe Joe Walsh signed something because he was such a team player. He was telling Don Felder, hey, Don, why are you complaining about the money, man? Just sign the contract. And Felder's like, have you read the contract? Look, you can make the argument on Don Felder's side, and there are two words you can say in the argument. Hotel California. It's like, I mean, Talk about a signature song, one of the biggest rock songs in the history of the planet. And Felder wrote all of the music. They had to go back and listen to the original demo the way Don Henley heard it. And that was something that Felder just noodled out on guitar while he was in his beach house in Malibu. And, the housekeeper, the maid, whatever, had to go and find the tape, put it in the cassette player, and play it back over the phone so Felder could relearn all of his mindless noodling that he did that day, which turned in to one of the greatest songs ever. And you needed Joe Walsh there, and you needed Joe Walsh in 1994. And so Walsh comes back in, and Felder's thinking, hey, these guys are using me, And they seem to care more about Joe than me. Now, that might not necessarily be true. Every time Don Felder is on stage playing guitar with the Eagles, people don't realize it, but he's stealing the show. He is Mr. Guitar, Fingers Felder. And he didn't get the same recognition because Joe Walsh had this great solo career. He was in this other band you may have heard of called the James Gang, and then he had his own band, and then he got involved with the Eagles, and he's had a solo career kind of parallel to all that. He released a solo album right in the midst of when the Eagles were struggling to write The Long Run, and probably one of the better Joe Walsh solo albums. What is it? But Seriously, Folks? Or something like that? Or just But Seriously? I can't remember the title because I'm getting senile. Anyway, Felder should be brought back in, but it would take a second hell to freeze over. We had it happen once. I doubt it can happen again. So those chat rooms and all the rumors, Felder's coming back. Then you got Bernie Leadon still out there. Bernie, I think, got ticked off at the Eagles again and stormed out of a tour that they did a few years ago when they brought Bernie Leadon back in. And Henley has said some very interesting things about Bernie Leadon over the years. Bernie and Don are supposedly childhood friends. It's weird that Don Felder out on tour by himself doesn't, have Bernie as a guest, because I think that would be really good. Bernie could even sing one of his compositions that, Don Henley called smarmy cocktail music. Maybe they could liven it up a little bit with some of Felder's guitar solos or whatever to, make the song less smarmy. But anyway, I don't think this is going to happen. And if you go and read this book, you'll understand why. Because there's just too much stuff in there, including all of the legal stuff. Joe Walsh telling Felder, sign the contract, Don. I can't do the Joe Walsh voice. It's got to be more squeaky and quirky. But and Don's like, have you read the contract, Joe? And Felder, who thought he was fighting for guys like Tim and Joe, was basically shot down like, hey, I just want to be in the Eagles. I want to make the money I'm making. This is what I deserve, so stop complaining about it. And maybe in hindsight, who knows, maybe Don Felder might feel as though he should have just, sucked it up, knew that he was being ripped off, especially based on the first contract that he signed as a full partner. He was a full partner of this band. Now, based on the level of creativity and the songwriting and the vocals and everything else, Don Felder cannot sing compared to Don Henley or even Glenn Frey or even Tim Schmidt. I think he's probably on the same level as Joe Walsh as a vocalist. I mean, he's got this real greasy, bluesy sounding, Harley Davidson sounding voice, which, compared to Henley and Frey is something very different, but certainly he was part of that famous Eagles sound and seemed to work out okay, especially on Hotel California. So, in any event, people, I wouldn't hold your breath on the Felder reunion. These rumors that I've been hearing are just fans. I think they're just fans doing a lot of wishful thinking. And I would love to see it. I may be willing to max out a credit card to go see a reunion. And see, this is what Irving Azoff probably thinks of. But then he knows. He's probably like, nah, because Henley will blow a gasket, and Stuart Smith has been in this band for a long time and has been loyal and faithful to the organization. So I don't think at this late stage that he would step aside or that Don Henley would permit any of this to happen. But you know what? Crazier things in the world have happened. And folks, the real sad part of all this is these bands are fading away. There was an article that came out, I think, yesterday or the day before. There are currently 14 fairly well-known, like major artists who've announced that they're on their farewell tour, or they're about to be, or they're wrapping up their farewell tour. And I'm sure that list will continue to grow as time goes on. And it's just really sad. Meanwhile, Don Felder is out there touring, so you can see him. He's got a really great supporting cast of musicians. You know, I love what Don Felder does when he's out there on the road. Vocally, it's tough. It's really hard for me to listen to him sing certain Eagles songs because vocally he's not up to the challenge for it. He doesn't have a bad voice, and some people are probably like, who cares? I'm seeing Don Felder. And that's the rationale. But it's hard to find people that sound like Don or Glenn. He could recruit Vince Gill because Vince sounds a little like Timothy B. Schmidt. And there are probably some other people that sound like Tim Schmidt, you know. But the point of it is that you can go see Felder, and that'll be okay, I guess. It's a way to maybe save a little money if you can't go see the Eagles, but it's just really hard to replace Don Henley and Glenn Frey. So that's my video on the topic. Again, lots of stuff here. I had the Big Wolf Band. I got the Heaven and Hell book here, which again, if you haven't read it, it's incredible. It's a great read. It's like a page turner. You know, and I read books, but typically it takes me a long time. I think I read Heaven and Hell in like a day and a half. So definitely check it out. I'm sure it's still available out there. Just don't tell Don Henley you're buying the book, all right? At this stage, if there is going to be a reunion, we don't want a big increase in Heaven and Hell book sales. What we need, though, is for hell to freeze over one more time, bring Don Felder back, and maybe even Bernie Leadon. And I know poor Randy Meisner, he's out there somewhere too still. I think he's in pretty rough shape, so I don't even think that would be an option. All right, that's my video. Thanks for watching. God bless you all. God bless America. More importantly, people, God save the world.